What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Cosmic, and welcome to my channel, The Readers Block 21. And today we are back in Metaphors. I think I live here now. This is where I am now. This is my domain. But today we are back in Metaphors. Again, we're going to be talking about Shawn Inmon. We're going to be talking about the next book after Joe Hart, Scott McKenzie, The Vigilante Life of Scott McKenzie. And this one is amazing. Okay, hang on. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start with the synopsis. Time travel with a twist. What if Dexter could travel in time? Scott Mackenzie's father killed his mother and himself. Scott vowed to do anything in his power to stop similar murders. He belonged to be a police officer, but a tour in Vietnam in the 1970s derails that career. 2 years later, wounded in body and soul, Scott died. He didn't go on to what was next, though. Instead, he woke up with a chance to live his life over and over until he got it right. Murderers will never see him coming, but by using violence to save others, is he losing his own soul? And again, this is the book after Joe Hart. It is the seventh book. That's the synopsis, but let's get into it. Scott McKenzie. I think the reason I enjoyed this book so much is because I actually enjoyed Dexter. Uh, Watching Dexter growing up, not the new Dexter, the old Dexter, the proper Dexter with C. Hall, Michael C. Hall, I believe his name is. Yeah, Michael C. Hall. It is. Oh, but back to Metaphors. Why? Here's the thing, right? No Middle Falls book ever starts with a happy beginning. Like, there's no he lived happy, he died, and now he's reliving his life again. It's always some form of violence or sad life or some form of death metaphors that triggers this cascade of living a bad life, and then you're recycled. But with Scott's book, right, you actually the beginning chapter starts, you actually go through the motions of seeing his father kill his mother and then kill himself, which is just, oh, it pulls at your heartstrings. You're already bought in before you even carry on. It then there's a time jump, and then he goes to live with um, family, and that goes horribly wrong, and then that leads into this cascade of just doing living a life that's just horrible, and then obviously 2 years later he passes away, etc., and then comes back. And there is a question in here, right? While before we move into the middle, there is a question in here that while I was reading the book, I kind of wondered what sort of mental anguishes, right? So damages to the psyche come back, right? So going to Vietnam, I can't imagine that was a fun thing to do. And then coming back home to, with vets, especially with people who go out and fight for freedoms of citizens of their country. Like when they come back, they are mistreated. There is this whole thing that goes along, but again, that is the whole concept there. And then it leads them down this dark life, shorter life as it may be, 2 years, but still, it leads them down this dark life, and then he is damaged. And one of the questions I had was, what else comes back? Not just for Scott, maybe. Uh, what other sort of mental blocks or mental damage is there that comes back? And that is a question that I don't think actually gets answered yet, which is quite an interesting thing to think about. So what if, for example, instead of him coming back where he did, he came back much earlier point in his life where he was a child? Would that come back with him? That was one of the questions that just blows my mind. Again, this is what Shawn Inmon does. He just writes a story, and you have all these other questions. And then we have the middle, right? Where Scott McKenzie does his Dexter thing. And that is quite interesting to read, right? When he's actually healed in a sense, right? And then he's in this process of going after other serial murderers, right? And changing history and seeing how that affects things. And there is a question at the end of, well, as you finish the end of this book, kind of, and you're like, well, yeah, but he does go after serial killers. I'm trying not to spoil it as much as I can, but it is I might just turn this into just a recap series and just go over the books because I sent the amount of time I censor myself is irritating, and I'm sure it's irritating to you guys where you can see I'm trying to say something, but my brain goes, yeah, you can't say that because that would be spoilery. But again, would you guys like that? Would you mind being spoiled? I mean, for me, spoilers don't really work because I'm gonna read the thing anyway, regardless of whether it's spoiled or not. That just means I know what's gonna happen before it happens, but that doesn't it doesn't affect me as much, but I know how spoilers for some people can actually affect people. For books, for me, I would, yeah, it wouldn't bother me. For movies, I don't know, depends on the movie, but yeah, it doesn't affect me. But let me know, guys, if you find these spoilery or not, and then we can go from there. But yes, the end to this one, you get to meet Joe. Joe is in this one, so spoiler alert. Um, it's not really a spoiler because you see it in the Joe's book anyway, so it's just a repetition of that and then a little bit of continuation from there. And when this book ends, we realize that Universal Life Center isn't just that. There is something quirky about it, and you're just like, wow, okay, that. But because we've only been seeing it from one perspective, but when it ends, we see it from another perspective, which is fantastic. Um, but yeah, it is a fantastic read. I would pick Scott McKenzie up and read again. It is a good, great book. Between this one and Joe Hart, yeah, definitely this one. But again, it's because I like Dexter. Maybe I'm identifying with villains too much. It's worrying. But technically, Scott isn't a villain, so and then there's different levels of villains. But anyway, here's my question for you this week. What is your favorite Middle Force books? I don't think I've actually asked that one. If you've read the Middle Force books, what's your favorite one? Uh, uh, and are you one of Sean's Patreons? Do you read as he once he writes a chapter? You kind of he has this service where you can actually read it with him, but as he writes it, are you one of those? In which case, let me know what's coming up. But that is all for myself, and as always, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.